tomorrow to head back to their home states. Some of them to do the work that they didn't bother to do during the break and actually go and talk to their constituents. Other ones are going to do campaign events over the weekend. And then they'll probably head back to Washington sometime late on Monday. And Tuesday, that's the 9th, starts the first full session of Congress after the break, where they have their first floor votes. So hopefully they're spent sometime this week, and we'll spend some time this weekend actually reading the bills that they're going to be voting on starting Tuesday. Be nice for them to actually read something they're voting on for once. Unlike the several past budget bills, which obviously they didn't read, because if they had, they'd have realized they're borrowing more money than they can afford to pay, which is just stupid. And, God forbid that the representatives that we have in the legislature, be unintelligent folks, right? What, too early? Anyway, without further ado, I think we've, there's plenty of stuff coming out of the feds that we can talk about, isn't there? All kinds of stuff. For another example, we talked about them getting involved in local police stuff. Well, they're also they have bigger fish to fry, folks. And why they're bothering with that when you have stuff going on all over the Middle East. And many isolationists, I've got friends who are diehard libertarians and diehard isolationists who say it's none of our damn business. Many of them were even in the military, and they're just like, look, we're tired. It's none of our business. Let's stay out of it. Folks, wrong answer. It is our business. I can give you two reasons, but they're just two people. We've had two journalists who were decapitated by the Islamic State. Now, yeah, I know what several of you thinking, especially those of you who are conservatives, it was just two liberal journalists, no big loss. Well, it is to their families, and they are Americans. Even if we don't agree with them politically, it doesn't matter. They're Americans. And yes, it was only two. Okay, got it. Two compared to several million people living in the United States, a little bit of a difference. It seems almost insignificant. It's like killing one ant out of an entire mound. Is it really going to change the dynamics of the ant colony? Well, unless it's the queen, probably not, right? Well, it matters to somebody. Like the little girl tossing the starfish back into the water. The grandfather says, you can't save all of them. And she says, yes, but I just made a difference to that one. Okay, you have to look at it from that standpoint. And then here's the next bit. The Islamic State, otherwise known as Al-Qaeda or ISIL, or whichever name you want to choose to give to this group, this umbrella group that's seeking to establish it's not even just a theocracy, folks. It's a theocracy based on what most true Muslims see as a extremist, literalist form of heresy. So it's not even religious extremism. It's heretical. It's a heretical caliphate. Heretical, blasphemous sort of religious-based government is what they want to set up. And it's one that if you don't believe what they believe, if you dare to have a free thought of your own or express a free thought of your own that doesn't go lockstep in line with theirs, then they have the right to kill you as a apostate under their version of Sharia law, religious law, that is. Now imagine if the Catholics had that power in the United States. If you didn't follow lockstep with Catholic dogma, if you sinned and you were caught sinning on camera and didn't confess it on Saturday morning, or if after you did confession on Saturday If you sinned sometime between Saturday and Sunday getting your communion, then you still bother to get communion, you're a heretic. You're a blasphemer. And they decapitated you in public square. How? Yeah, imagine that. And imagine that being the decree of the government. Imagine the Pope being able to reach over and say, hey, Bishop, I don't like that guy's nose. Tell him to go get plastic surgery. And if he doesn't have it fixed within a week, I want his head cut off. Imagine that. Or, hey, the school uniforms in that school, the girls buying those school uniforms, some of them are wearing skirts that are too short because their family can't afford the longer ones yet, but they still fit in the waist or whatever. So if their skirt comes up above mid-calf, I want you to cut their head off. I want you to tie them up to a stick in the grotto and stone them to death. Imagine if that was the case. Okay, would you want a government aligned with one religious faction and in an extreme version of it? Because, folks, I use that as an example because if you look at most Catholics and you ask if they would really do stuff like that, they're not just rolling their eyes and lying and snickering, going, hey, no. Oh, crap, they know. No, they really would not do the stuff I described. So imagine there was some new faction within that sect of the religion that rose up who actually would and took over not just the religious views, but took over our entire country and said, this is what you're going to believe or else. Now imagine if you belong to a different Christian sect. You don't fall in lockstep, so you're an apostate. Doesn't matter that their version, their skewed view is the actual heresy, the actual blasphemy. Because when you're talking about the Christian views, isn't, the whole forgiveness thing, the whole repentance thing, the whole atonement thing? Because they kind of threw that out in my example, didn't they? Well, that's what the Islamic State is compared to most other Muslims. So you can't hold the rest of them accountable for what that one group does, except for the fact that there are many of those who just passively sit by and let them get away with it. And that's where the problem is, because they're scared, they're afraid. Or they just don't know. They're like, we don't know what the will of God is, and we got two different religious leaders here giving different versions. We don't know which one to believe, so let's just stay out of it, sit back and do nothing. Because who are we to say what God's will is? That is what a lot of their attitude is to folks. And there's differing views in there too. Every person is different. I'm just going by what in my experience, several people have told me that come from that culture, that live in Muslim countries. So, with all that in mind, that's the extremist group called ISIS or Al-Qaeda or whatever their name is this week. And they have declared war on the United States. They have. Heck, they flew planes into the World Trade Center and into the Pentagon. They've blown up our Navy's ships in Yemen. They have destroyed our embassies in Kenya and Tanzania. And they murdered our ambassadors in Benghazi. So that's just their greatest hits. That's not counting all the other little things they've done. They hate us. So either we sit back and let them get stronger, or we take the fight to them knowing full well that they intend on coming after us. Also, Iraq is our responsibility. We kicked out the old regime, and then we left before the new one could be fully stood up and established on its own 2 feet. They were a 18-month toddler still trying to get their sea legs, and not quite gotten the full handle of the sippy cup, and we put him in the kitchen and said, "Fend for yourself. Here's a debit card with $20 on it. We're leaving for a month to go on vacation. Take care of yourself. Bye." To an 18-month-old. Okay. You're thinking that analogy is extreme? That's really what we did with Iraq. We did not finish the mission there. And then when we gave a time for our pullout, we basically told Al-Qaeda and their affiliated organizations to include their, in quotes, legitimate political arm, otherwise known as ISI or ISIS or ISIL or the Islamic State, or choose the name for the week. They really are. They are to Al-Qaeda what Sinn Féin is to the IRA. Now the Islamic... So we told these guys, hey, we're going to leave at this time, so just stop attacking until then. Wait till we're gone. And then, sit back and regather your strength at whatever speed you can, since we're no longer going to be in the way because we're going to be out of the area, and have at it, folks. That's what we did when we told them that we were in Iraq for a limited time, and this was the date we were pulling out. Which is, let me see, we have a word for that. Stupid! So, there you have it. My 2 cents. Anyway, let's get off of that depressing topic. It's Thursday! Tomorrow's the last day of the work week. So that means today you want to get as much done, tie up as many of those ends, get as much of your work done as you can, so that you're ready. So that just have those small details to finish tomorrow, maybe get started on a couple of things for Monday, so that you have your weekend free to enjoy the pursuit of your happiness, the fruits of your labors. That's what it's all about, folks. You work hard, you earn, then you take the fruits of your labors. In other words, what you earned. Not what somebody handed out to you, but what you earned through your own sweat, your own work, your own innovation, your own mental and physical labors. And you then take the profits, so to speak, what you traded your time, that portion of your life for, and you enjoy it. Enjoy your house, enjoy your family, enjoy your garden, enjoy taking a horseback ride or a bike ride or a car ride if you can afford the gas. But you have to get the work done before you can enjoy it, though, because otherwise you just have more toils to get to next week, other than next week's allotment. So think about that for a couple minutes, and then think about any veterans you know who might be having a hard time out there, and if they're thinking about getting out of the service and heading to Texas or there's someplace and they need some help, they need kind of a new direction because they're just kind of dead end, and they're thinking about maybe going to Texas where they have some additional education benefits other than what the VA offers, or if they're in Texas and looking at getting out, and even if they're going to head somewhere else. Governor Perry has some information, and Texas isn't the only state that has their own little Veterans Bureau. So whatever state you're in, look for your local state's Veterans Bureau. But who knows, maybe there's some information coming out of the Texas Veterans Hotline that may even help you, even if you're not living in Texas or considering living here. But if you are, they're certainly here to help. So let's hear what Governor Perry has to say about that.
Our men and women in uniform have valiantly served and profoundly sacrificed for our nation. That's why Texas is expanding staffing at the Texas Veterans Hotline with experts trained to help veterans deal with the VA. Callers can learn what they qualify for, and in the most urgent cases, TVC experts will work directly with the VA to help veterans get the answers and care they need and deserve. Call the hotline at 1-800-252-VETS. Thank you.
And for those of you who had served, thank you. For those of you who are direct family members, that is mother, father, brother, sister, wife, husband, son, or daughter of someone who served. Thank you for the sacrifices you have made, especially if you're one of those direct family members, one of those nuclear family members of someone who is still serving. Thank you for the sacrifices you make, especially the spouses and children of those serving. Because as someone who has served, I've seen what those spouses and children who stand by through all the hardships, don't give up, they deal with the crap, and are there, and they somehow still make it work despite the separations, despite the highs and lows that the deployments cause. So to those who have stuck with it, thank you. To those who your spouse takes off on deployment and you think it's fun time, free time, and you're going to go off and do whatever, or they come home and you drop divorce paperwork on them because you done found
somebody else that you just love so much because you were gone and you weren't here for me.
Those who fell into that crap that are too weak, thanks for trying, thanks for playing, go away. Just my 2 cents. By the way, leave the kids. Don't use them as pawns, folks. My 2 cents again. Going off on a tangent there, because I want to talk about other uniformed personnel. One thing of note is I don't know if every state does this, but I do know Texas does their Lone Star Awards. And what are Lone Star Awards? Does that mean that somebody does something crazy and they decide to give them a beer? No. It has nothing to do with the beer, folks. What it does have to do with is giving awards, saying thanks to those uniformed public servants. We're talking about the police and fire and first responders, your paramedics, etc., who sacrificed something in the name of saving lives and doing their jobs. And each year, several are awarded the Lone Star Award, which is it's a bare consolation, folks, if even a consolation. It's like giving a Medal of Honor to somebody who saved hundreds of lives but died in the process. They're not here anymore, so yeah, it's a pretty little piece of tin, and thanks for adding to the memory, but really have the person back. But it's something. I won't say it's better than nothing. It's a lot better than nothing, because it brings the attention to a wider audience than just the family in grief. In the case of the Medal of Honor winners, now this is an entire nation in grief and gratitude, like for Lieutenant Michael Murphy. If you have not seen the movie Lone Survivor yet, go ahead and see it. Michael Murphy is he's portrayed in the movie. And no, he's not the one who is the lone survivor. He's the one who got the Medal of Honor for going off alone with a satellite phone and actually getting a call through to get some help, which later on down the line led to Marcus Luttrell actually getting out of there alive, and led to the defeat of a very large Taliban and Al-Qaeda force. So if he hadn't gone and made that selfless sacrifice, well, we never know exactly how bad it could have gotten. But Michael Murphy's sacrifice not only allowed Luttrell to survive, but he made it to a town, and the town had a certain sense of honor. And because of Marcus, he was able to help not only, repel the Taliban and get a couple of, they were able to capture a couple of key high-value individuals, bad guys, but they were able to rescue and protect the whole town. So, all this stuff kind of chained together. So, we're talking about the Lone Star Awards. Texas gives out these awards,